Hi wine friends and happy Wine Wednesday. If you are new, I'm Allie from A Glass After Work. Thanks for joining. Today we're going to discuss Easter wines. Last week we discussed Passover wines, specifically from Yarden. I will link on that video down below. I'm Jewish, so we celebrate Passover, but my husband is not, so we also celebrate Easter, and that it makes it fun. We get to celebrate all of the spring holidays. So why don't we start with the rosé? This is the Lviv Ferm. So this is the 2018, and I admit that this is a wine that is in our house a lot. Grabbed it from Whole Foods the first time. It's $9, and since then I have been in love. I actually brought it to girls' night last weekend, and it was the first thing to go. It received a whole bunch of compliments, and it's an easy drinker, it's delicious. But I thought it would also be really nice to share for Easter. So why don't we take a look? You can see it has got a super pale, almost pastel looking color. See, it matches my shirt. Which feels very spring rosé, kind of perfect for me. Let's take a sniff. Oh yeah. So we've got some good like melon characteristics, like some cantaloupe. I definitely have some like orange zest, like the orange rind. And some strawberries with like the tiniest hint of like cream. A little bit of cherries. Why don't we give it a taste? Cheers. I love this wine. Talk about quality price ratio. You would never taste this wine and think it was a $9 wine. It's not super complex, but it's super delicious. So it's bright acidity, but it's got some good flavor. It's light in the mouth. If you're gonna start off your meal with some cheese or prosciutto or something like that, it would be perfect for that. If your Easter dinner is ham and chicken, my mother-in-law makes some fantastic macaroni and cheese. This would go all really well with that. It could cut through the acid of the mac and cheese, but also be a really nice complement to the ham, especially if it's like a honey baked, ham, like a glazed ham. So it's light bodied, definitely has some of those orange zest and cantaloupe characteristics that we got on the nose. Getting lots of strawberries and cherries. Just some good red fruit mixed in with a little bit of nice acid. It's an easy drinker, so just be careful if you're serving it because you don't want your guests to drink too much. And I think it's not hard to do with this wine. It goes down very, very easily. But it's really good. I also think if you're doing brunch instead of dinner, it would be a nice addition to brunch. I think it would mix well. If you're going to do like scrambled eggs and chives, if you have an eggs Benedict, it'll go well with that. I think it'd be a good mix with eggs in particular. So, all right, let me finish this up and we'll move on. Well, here, let's take a look. So, Lambrusco comes from the Emilia-Romagna region, and this is the Clito Charlie. It's from the Grapparosa di Castelvetro region. Excuse my Italian because I am obviously not an Italian speaker. But it's from the Emilia-Romagna region, and it can be anything from a rosé to a darker reddish wine, sparkling wine. It's definitely made with red grapes. Sometimes they're called Lambrusco grapes. There's a bunch of different grapes. The Grapparosa is one of those grapes. Usually in this region, it's a darker Lambrusco. So instead of looking more like a rosé, we're going to get a nice dark red wine like we've got here. So you can see that. And this wine in particular is from the winery called Clito Charlie. It was founded in 2001 by two grandsons of the man who was named Clito Charlie. Clito Charlie founded the first wine producing company in the Emilia-Romagna region. In honor of him, the grandsons created this winery. So I happen to love this wine. I love Lambrusco in general. I think it's incredibly food friendly. So why don't we take a sniff? Oh, so there's a lot of like blackberry. This is like almost like blackberry juice. There's so much blackberry, a little bit of blueberry. Oh, it's like, and there's a little bit of almost like cream, like blackberries and cream. Oh, what a nose. All right, why don't we give it a taste? Cheers. So this Lambrusco is more like fizz in the mouth as opposed to big bubbles. You can end up with a Lambrusco that has bigger bubbles, but this one is not. I really like that. It keeps everything fresh in the mouth, especially because it's a little bit more on the yeah, I would say especially because it's a little more on the medium body side. But you don't really feel it. It doesn't feel heavy because of that fizziness. But it also means that it's going to be great with like ham. Like this is a ham wine. It'd also be really good with turkey or chicken if you're doing kind of a bird thing at Easter. I don't know. It might go with the lamb. It's not, because there's a little bit of sweetness, this wouldn't be my first choice for the lamb, but it probably wouldn't be bad with it. I will say if you have somebody that you're trying to get to drink a little more red wine, but they keep telling you they don't like it, this isn't going to have any of that gum pull that very often people don't like. So you may want to give this to them to try, because I do think that this is a very food friendly, very wine friendly, easy drinker. It's not very expensive. It was $14, but you would never know that it was $14. It's very pretty. It's really nice. I enjoy this wine. And then I have one more wine that I want to taste with you guys. So this one is a Zinfandel, Storybook Mountain. So this is a Storybook Mountain Vineyards Zinfandel. This is the 2012. And this is the Estate Reserve. I've reviewed the Make a Miss range before, which actually, to be honest, the Make a Miss range I think is probably my favorite. But the Estate Reserve is also really nice, and it's a little more special. I think if you watch my Make a Miss range video, which I will link below, I also have an awful lot of just kind of nostalgia about the Make a Miss range wines. So I think that also tends to be why they are my favorite. But this is a really special wine. So if you're looking for something special for Easter, it's easier to get it from the website. Right now they are doing the 2015 vintage. They don't have any more of the 2012 vintage available. The 2015 vintage looks like it's about $75, and because they're running low on inventory, you can only get 3 bottles at a time. But truthfully, it's a special wine. It's not like you're going to be drinking a whole case of special wine at Easter. This is probably enough for folks to have a glass or two and really enjoy it. All right, let's give it a look. So you can see that is a pretty dark colored wine. It is dark ruby, but it's trending a little bit towards the garnet side because it's getting a little bit older. I'm still getting the kind of blueberry and black cherry notes that I've gotten in the past from this vintage. But I'm also getting a lot of like leathery notes. There's definitely a ton of cedar. I don't really remember there being quite this much cedar before. All right, why don't we give it a taste? Cheers. So, this is definitely more in the medium-bodied range. It is still showing that kind of blueberry, blackberry type characteristic, but in the mouth, again, the cedar is kind of dominating. Although I will also say those baking spices are really, really coming through. I'm definitely getting cinnamon and nutmeg mixed in there. The wine has got some decent tannins happening to it, which I think is part of why it's been aging well. I would say on the medium to high end of the tannins, definitely on the higher acid side. I think this would be a really good heavier food wine. So if you're serving lamb, I think it would go really, really nicely with that. I think it'll do well with the ham if you're serving ham. It's probably not so much a chicken and turkey wine though. This is probably more for the heavier meats, for your red meats and your heavier dishes, like if you're doing a baked potato or something like that. But it's really good. So I did also want to talk about a couple of other wines that I don't have to share, but that I think are worth checking out. We didn't do any white wines today, but if you're looking for a white wine, you may want to check out a Grüner Veltliner. I think that the Grüners with Easter in particular, whether you're doing a brunch or you're doing a dinner, Grüners are going to be perfect. One of my favorites is the Laurenz Singing Grüner Veltliner. I realized that the last time that I reviewed it for my blog was actually back in 2009, which I'm shocked about because we are drinking the Singing Grüner all the time. It's an $18 wine. I clearly need to share it with you, so I'm going to plan to put a couple bottles in my next wine.com haul because it's a wine that you need to know about. It's a wine you need to think about for your white wine drinkers at Easter. It will go well with eggs. It'll go well with an eggs Benedict. It'll go really well with ham. It'll go well with your kind of chicken turkey type dishes. So I think it would, and I think it's also going to be a crowd pleaser. Another wine I wanted to recommend was the Sawtooth Reisling. The Sawtooth Reisling is from Idaho. It's just a hint of sweetness, but it makes it a fantastic regular just ham or chicken turkey kind of dinner. It's going to go nicely with whatever your side dishes are because it's going to be able to cut through the fat of some of those. So I know people try to stay away from slightly sweet wines. It's not super sweet. It's just a little bit, but it's super, super good. And it's also not expensive. I think it's in the $14 range. So in terms of red wines, a couple of other recommendations if you don't want to go with a Zinfandel, because we all know that I love my Zins. I would consider the Herencia Altas, which is the Grenache I reviewed a couple of weeks ago in my wine.com haul. It is a $12 bottle of Spanish wine that is delicious. And it is going to go with everything on your Easter dinner table. It is beautiful. It is a wine that could go with ham, it can go with chicken, it could go with turkey, it could go with lamb. It just is going to span the gamut. I'm a little funny about red wines and brunch, but the truth is it probably would go really nicely with some French toast or a French toast casserole, especially if you're going to throw some bacon or some sausage around as a side dish. I think you could do pretty well with the Grenache. Very food friendly, very drinker friendly, and not going to break your bank. My last recommendation might break the bank. So maybe not really that expensive, but I'm a big fan of Penner Ash, and I think that their wines are worth the $50 to $75 that you will pay for them. And I think that they would go really, really well with Easter dinner. They're Pinot Noirs. I realized I am a member of their wine club, and I've actually mentioned their wines before when I did a Thanksgiving roundup because I think that their wines would go really, really well with turkey in particular, but I haven't actually shared one. I'm pretty sure I just got a box from them, so be on the lookout. I will be doing an unboxing of my first Penner Ash Wine Club shipment shortly. Unfortunately, I just didn't get to it before Easter, but I do think that they're worth checking out. I know that I can grab them in my Harris Teeter here, so my hope is that means that folks can grab at least some of their wines in a wine store nearby. If not, they do sell their wines online, and you do still have a little bit of time if you get on this pretty quickly. In general, if you can't find the wines that I specifically mentioned, any kind of sparkling wine is going to be good for brunch or for the regular dinner. So you're probably not going to go wrong with sparkling, plus people love to drink sparkling wine. Doing a Grüner Veltliner, if you're looking for a white wine, is going to be a really nice option, especially if you're serving a ham dish, either for brunch or for dinner. If you're considering doing a sparkling wine but want to be a little adventurous, I definitely recommend going for Lambrusco. I love Lambrusco. People are sometimes afraid of Lambruscos because they haven't had them before, or when they've had them super, super sweet and they just think that they're like drinking a soda. I promise you, they're not all like that. They're super food friendly. That's what they're made to do. And every time I have served them, people have been surprised. So consider doing a Lambrusco. If Lambrusco is not your thing, or if you're looking for a flat red wine, Grenache, Pinot Noir, or Zinfandel. I think you can't go wrong with any of those. And I think that that is everything I have in terms of recommendations for Easter. So I'd love to know, if you celebrate Easter, what are your plans? Are you going out? Are you going out for brunch? Are you going out for dinner? Or are you having people in? And if you're having people in, do you do a earlier in the day brunch type of thing, or a dinner? And if you know what you're serving, I'd love to know, is it a wine kind of day for you, or do you serve something else? And if you're serving alcohol, let me know in the comments below. And that is everything that I have for tonight. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate those. If you don't already subscribe to my channel, you can do that by clicking on the icon right here, or by clicking on the subscribe button down below. But don't forget, click on that bell so that it'll notify you when I upload a new video, which is going to be every Wine Wednesday. And if you are looking for a recommendation, you can find one right there. Thanks for joining me, and happy Wine Wednesday. Cheers.